What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 EDC, and today I have a quick unboxing to do for you guys. This package is coming in from Mr. Jason over at Knife Dope. As always, I will leave a link to him down below in the description. Please go check him out. Jason's a really good dude, and he is, I don't know if I've ever said this out loud or, told him or told anybody, but I think I probably have a couple stickers buried in my sticker thing over here. But his sticker or his logo is one of my favorites. He recently had it redone. I guess back when he switched over, I forget. I think his old name was Puerto Rican with a Knife, but then he switched it to Knife Dope. And it's like a little drug bag. I've always loved his logo. So Jason, if you're watching this, huge fan of your logo and your little, sort of bit you have with it. But this package is coming in via the Lefty passaround group, and I believe this is a Tuya Wolf. And I think it is a Kubey Sumo. It's a little duo package. Unboxing knife is, of course, my custom fixed blade from Mill Run Knife Co. Kind of my de facto unboxing knife that I've been using recently. Happy Tuesday. I'm filming this on Tuesday. You guys will see this on Tuesday, so I hope you guys are having, a good start to your week. I do apologize. It has been a little bit since I've uploaded. The end of last week was real busy for my my wife and I, my family. We just had Easter weekend over the weekend. My wife's birthday fell on Easter, so we just had a really busy weekend. And if you guys can tell, I'm kind of getting over a little bit of a sinus, head cold. I kind of felt like shit really over the weekend. And yesterday, stayed home from work and just kind of laid low. So I do have videos coming. I have probably 3 or 4 reviews I need to bang out this week, so hopefully going to get time to do that. And then I know I have another, I think 3 knives. It's like a big CGRB pack coming in via the Lefty group. I think that's coming from Brian over at BEEDC. So yeah, little spiel there where I've been, a little life update. So I do apologize, but hopefully we're going to get a couple videos out for you guys this week. So stay tuned for those. Got some, of course, in the box, got a ton of JD for EDC stickers. Have a knife day, got a ton of those. So I'm just gonna leave these in the box to reuse because I have an absolute shit ton of those. Some stuff packed up here. We'll go with the Tuya first. So you guys are pretty familiar with Tuya by now. I've reviewed, I want to say almost like their entire catalog. Kevin has gotten a ton from, Dave Warren over at Tuya Knives USA himself. I've gotten in a few from him. So Tuya is very well received here on the channel. I like a lot of their products. And this is the Wolf in micarta. And I believe this is I want to say frame lock. Could be a liner lock. Not 100% sure, but it's an M390 knife, and I think it's like 169 bucks. It's been very popular, over, the knife interwebs the last couple of months, how good of a deal it is for what you get for it. Sorry, still working through the head cold shit. But I believe, okay, so it is a liner lock. I was wrong about that. But it comes in a Tuya pouch. And I believe this is like some vintage, like canvas micarta. Here is the knife. As you guys can see here, this is like a brown, kind of caramel colored micarta. You have almost a full length backspacer. It's very interesting. You have a milled titanium pot clip that I already know is not going to be deep carry. You're going to have about that much sticking up out of your pocket. So I already know that I'm not going to enjoy that aspect of it. It doesn't look bad from an aesthetic standpoint, but I definitely would have preferred, a deeper carry. I'm just going to say that right off the rip. Snappy detent. It's a thick knife. You guys can see very thick handles. You get a very interesting blade shape. So this is, I would say, you get a little bit of a harpoon up here. Nice little thumb ramp with some jimping. You guys can see it's in M390, which is very nice. You get a compound grind down here, so you get a hollow ground. And then here on this upswept tanto, you get a kind of a chisel. The blade stock is pretty thin. It comes down to a thin edge with that hollow grind. But like I said, this is a relatively thick knife. I'm not, I don't love the way this knife looks. That's why, despite of how, well it's priced, Get a nice thick, look at those liners in there, thick liner lock. No blade play. Good action. Very snappy detent. Yeah, it is a very thick knife, so it's going to take a little bit to get used to. Try the reverse flick. Again, very snappy detent. But as I was saying, I'm just not the biggest fan of how this knife looks. So despite how well it was received and how good of a price it is when it comes to the materials you're getting, I'm just not a huge fan of the aesthetics. That's why I held off. But when I saw it was being tossed in the pass around with the Sumo, which I've also wanted to check out, it was a no-brainer to check it out. So, first impressions, very well made. Tuya does amazing work, OEM, and I think a lot of people know that nowadays. But that detent is very, very stout. So I'm sure this will take a little bit to get used to, utilizing the thumb studs. But yeah, very interesting knife. And again, if you are a fan of this design, I think these go for like $169 before someone's code. So much, probably closer to $150, which is fantastic for M390. And again, this really interesting kind of vintage feeling looking micarta. But that is the Tuya Wolf. And then here we have the Kubey Sumo, technically model number KB400B. It's in CPM 20CV and titanium. The color is dark, and of course, KB is made in China. It's Kubey knives, KB knives. They're both the same to me. I really don't know what to call them, at this point. Made in China, about us, KB knives, all that stuff. But it is, technically Kubey. Open this up. Out of the package, but it comes with a microfiber and some other literature in there. And I really like the dark, it says it's dark colored. This is like a super dark acid wash all over, which I really, really like. You guys can see it is a button lock. And this is, I'm blanking on the designer. Yeah, sorry, Jacob Hoback. This is a Hoback design. And there was some controversy because the Sumo, this model, it literally just looks just like this knife. I believe he was selling as it's been probably pushing 2 years ago or so by now. But I believe he was selling the Hoback knife Sumo as a USA made knife for like $600, I think it was. And come to find out, it was not made in the USA, and it was, manufactured overseas, which I have no qualms about. China manufacturing, Riot, Beztech, Kubey, QSP, all those, OEMs, Tuya, they make phenomenal knives, Kunwu. But when you market something as a USA made, button lock, and you're spending USA made prices on it, you're going to get some backlash when you decide and it comes out that you are not making it in USA. So when the KB Sumo came out, people were like, oh, maybe Kubey was just making it all along and stuff like that. But there's a little bit of controversy. But it's a decent looking design. I've been, kind of interested in checking it out. Very interesting pot clip. It's mounted to like the very top of the scale. There is the Hoback design, or Hoback Knives logo, CPM 20 CV. Of course, it's a button lock Kubey. Small knife. I can just get all 4 fingers on here. You have a very interesting backspacer. I don't really know why it is. I guess the blade almost comes up there, so I guess it's kind of a protectant. You get these thumb discs, but you also get a fuller you can flick on. No blade play. The button sticks out a good amount there for release. Very smooth, as I expected it to be. You also get the backspacer down there as kind of a housing area for your blade. Comes down to a decently thin edge. You have a medium blade stock thickness. But again, I really like the kind of dark acid wash, dark stone washes that Kubey does on their different types of knives. It's always been kind of a big thing that I've enjoyed, and this is very, very cool looking. Ergos are pretty good, landing this way, landing the whole way out here in your thumb. But when you kind of choke back, you are, at the mercy of putting your thumb right here on this sort of enlarged backspacer. So I would either put it right there or go the whole way out. And then you can kind of choke up here on this landing choil. But honestly, right like this is a great grip for anything that you're doing. But yeah, two cool knives. You know, I say this quite often, but one huge perk of being in the Lefty Pass Around group, you know, with all of my buddies in the knife community, is I'm blessed to be in the group. You guys know that by now. I pretty much, you know, I shout out Kevin every video, and I pretty much express how thankful I am that I get to check out stuff from him, because so much of my content, so many of my reviews, so many of my unboxings all come from that, and that is content for you guys, content for me to make, so on and so forth. But it also allows me to check out knives that I would never in a million years spend my money on. And that's not to say that the knives that I never would spend my money on are bad. They're just, you know, I have my own interests. I have my own, you know, personal taste. And that's how we are all, you know, created. And it's, I'm sure so many people in the, you know, or not in the community, but in the, you know, group pass around can say the same thing. And it's really cool. And it allows me to get, you know, my hands on stuff that I would either never be able to afford, you know, consistently, or never would buy. And, you know, it's a really cool thing. So, but I am going to wrap this up now. So this was my unboxing of the Tuya Knives Wolf and the Kubey Knives Sumo. Huge shout out to Kevin over at Lefty DC, as always, for allowing us to check out the coolest stuff in the game. Also, huge shout out to Jason over at Knife Dope. Please go check him out below and give him a subscription. A follow, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. But I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you're watching this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.